Welcome to DriveOnline Full System Training. We've put this video together to allow you to watch us put together a lead, quote and application within DriveOnline. This session will also cover uploading supporting documentation and cloning applications. Bianca will now take you through DriveOnline. Enjoy!
Welcome to DriveOnline training. I'm now going to take you through high-level navigation of DriveOnline. On the top right-hand corner of your screen, I'll direct you to where we have 4 tabs. The first field that you can see is the help desk, and this is the contact number for the Rubik help desk. They're available Monday to Friday, 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Secondly, we have access to our user guide, and if I was to press on the user guide now, a pop-up window will appear, and that will be the PDF version of our user guide. The third field here tells us who's logged into the system, and in this case, we have Training 21. In the real life or production environment, this would be where your details would be shown. We then have an icon here, and I'm going to press on the drop-down menu, and you'll see that a drop-down appears. Now we can increase and decrease our font size by pressing this button, and you'll see that it's only a slight change, but it is a change nonetheless, and I'm going to leave that as an increased font size. It's here that we can also sign out of the DriveOnline platform, and we can access your account details. So I'm going to select my account, and you'll see a pop-up window appears. Now on this pop-up window, you have 2 tabs, the Login tab and the User Profile tab. On the Login tab, you're able to update and change your current password and the email address that's linked to your account. On the User Profile tab, you can update your details, and you can see in this case, our first name is Training and second name is User21. Our company name or our broker name, our telephone and mobile contact details, and our address details, all of which can be edited and changed and updated by yourself. You also have the ability to update or add a company logo. For this training purpose, you'll see that we have a company logo already updated and included. And again, in your brokerage, you have the ability to upload your own. Now, I'm logged in as a broker support, and there are 2 types of users of the system, broker support and broker. Now, if I had access as a broker, I would have a 3rd tab, and that 3rd tab would be here, and that would be called accreditation. And that accreditation tab will simply outline or illustrate the accreditations within the Westpac group that this broker has and is able to apply for finance from. Now, I'm logged in as a broker support, and being a broker support, what that means is that I am able to see all leads, quotes, and applications for all brokers within my firm. As a broker login, you only have access to the leads, quotes, and applications that you yourself have created. Now, for the purpose of this training video, I am using a broker support so that I can show you one of the key differences between those 2 login types. And I'll draw your eyes to the left-hand side of our screen. This is our main ribbon and our main area that we will be using functionality within DriveOnline. DriveOnline is a tab-based system. It commences with an EF Manager tab. So we're nowhere on our landing page when we see the EF Manager tab. As we open up more records, you'll see that those records appear on the top of this ribbon here. What it means is that you're able to toggle between records and come back to your EF Manager tab to view other records or open other records. On this middle ribbon, you'll see that there are 3 buttons, leads, quotes, and applications. Those buttons are static and they don't change. What will change is the buttons to the right-hand side of those. So if, for example, I was to select quotes, you'll see that the options here change. And if I was to select apps, again, the options change. I'm going to go back to the leads tab. And what I will say as well, when you log in, the main landing page you have will default to the leads tab. Now draw your attention to the right-hand side of your screen, and this is where our search field is. So I'm going to select the search options green button, and you'll see a pop-up window appears. Now you can imagine once you've got hundreds and thousands of records within DriveOnline, you'll want to be able to search and filter your search. So there are a number of ways that you can filter your search. You can filter via your created date and your last change date. If you're accredited with multiple lenders, you can also select the lender in which you applied for finance under. And you can also use the keyword search. So you can apply any one of these filters and all if required. And I'll demonstrate how the keyword search works. So in the keyword search, I'm going to type in the word horn, as in rain and horn. By doing so, you'll see that that filter is automatically applied to our leads folder, and it's now only displaying those records that contain the word horn. If I was to press on quotes, it will also apply that same search filter, and if I press on apps, it will then filter the applications as well. So only demonstrating or appearing those that contain the word horn. So I'm going to go back to our leads tab, and I will remember to click back on our search options and clear our search so that we then display all records back on those fields. Now I'm going to demonstrate our leads. So a leads folder is simply a way that we gather or group our quotes. It's up to you as a brokerage how you would like to organise your leads folder. For example, you may choose to create a leads folder for your customer or your customer and specific asset types, or it may be financial year and customer. Again, completely up to you and your brokerage. What I will demonstrate for you now is how we do create a leads folder. So to create a leads folder, we are already on our leads tab, and now I'm going to press the button New Lead. How do we know we're in a lead? Well, two things have happened. Firstly, a pop-up window has now appeared. So as I explained, we have a tab-based system. We know we're in a leads folder because a lead is identified starting with the letter L, followed by an automatic system generated number. For example, in this case, it's 24950. Move us down to the main part of our leads folder, and you'll see we have a number of different field types. The first field type is represented with a grey background, and the first four fields are like this. Fields with a grey background are auto system generated, so we can't update or change those ourselves. Those fields that have a white background are not mandatory, but able to be populated. And if we're not sure what information to populate within those fields, we can hover over, as I've done here, and you'll see a blue pop-up appears, giving us guidance around what information we would populate in that specific field. We then are asked to select our customer type. So all leads folders do need to have the customer type. We have four types of customer: individual, company, trust, and incorporated or unincorporated entity. Our sole traders and partnerships will be gathered under individual, and our government would be under incorporated or unincorporated entities. For this example, I'm going to select company as our company type. And you'll see our third field type, and that field type is a mandatory field, and that's represented here with a blue background. Within DriveOnline, all fields with a blue background are mandatory and must be completed. So I'm going to populate both the legal and trading names, and you can see I've now populated all required fields for this lead. I now need to save this folder, so I'm going to press Save on the top ribbon here, and a pop-up window will appear. This is functionality that you'll see throughout DriveOnline. You press a button, a pop-up window will generally appear. It's asking us to confirm we would like to save, and in this case we do. So we're going to press Save. And our record has now been saved. We can see this by the red pop-up window that appears, and it appears only for a number of moments and then it does disappear. And it's simply telling us the last action that was created against this particular field. So now I'm going to show you how we create a quote in DriveOnline. Now the rule within DriveOnline is all quotes must be created under a leads folder. And I'm going to use the leads folder that I've just created to create my quote. You'll see on the bottom of our leads folder, there's a quote option and a green add button. And you'll see this green add button through DriveOnline. I'm going to press add now, and you'll see a pop-up window has appeared. Now this pop-up window that's appeared is one feature that appears due to the fact that I'm logged in as a broker support. So as a broker support, I can't own a quote or an application. A broker within my firm must. So from this list, I'm going to select the broker that will own this particular quote, and I'm then going to press select. A pop-up window then appears with the lenders in which I would like to select to apply for this quote under. And for this example, I am going to select Capital. And I'm now taken to my quote. And how do I know I'm in a quote? Well, I'll take your eyes up to the top tab, And you can see that this particular lead folder, or this lead, has now changed. It contains the same information at the beginning, so the L and the unique identified number, but then it follows with a 0.01. So what this is telling us is this is the first quote within this leads folder. If I was to create a second quote in that same leads folder, this number would be 0.02, a third quote 0.03, and so on. If I move down to the main part of our quote, you'll see I have a number of fields. The first field that I can choose to populate is the quote description. And again, just like we saw in our leads, if we're unsure what information to populate here, a blue pop-up window will appear when we hover. There's a question asking if this is a quote related to a program. For this example, we're going to select no. We have a mandatory field where we're asked to select our finance type. And on this drop-down option, we have 5 choices. The first one is commercial loan goods loan, otherwise known as chattel mortgage within capital quote, commercial hire purchase, also known as term purchase, finance lease, novated lease, and rental. For this example, we are going to select commercial loan goods loan. We now need to add our finance good. So I'm going to press the add button and a pop-up window appears. I'm going to select motor vehicle and transport because we are going to select a new car. Now on this pop-up window, it's asking us for further information. We can see there are 2 mandatory fields. The first one is the type. So this one we're going to select new and the type of car with a purchase price of $30,000. You can see as we update our purchase price that the GST automatically updates for us. We have the ability to add a number of different pieces of information, for example, deposit amount, existing finance payout, CTP insurance, etc. For this example, I'm going to leave everything as is, but I am going to add a balloon. And we can add our balloon via a dollar amount or a percentage. I'm going to select percentage, and then I'm going to enter in 30% as my balloon. You'll see that by entering the 30 here, it automatically tells us what the dollar figure is. If we had entered in $9,000, instead of 30 for 30%, it would update and tell us that that's 30% balloon payment. I'm now ready to progress to the second part of my quote. So I'm going to press OK. And I'm taken to the second part of my quote screen. There are 4 mandatory fields that we can see. I'm going to leave the first one blank so I can show you another feature of DriveOnline. The repayment frequency is monthly. We're going to put in a lender rate of 6.8%, a brokerage fee of 3%. The goods are located here in New South Wales with a contract start date of tomorrow. What's important to remember about your contract start date? This is just a quote at this stage. If we're in the application, we would be able to edit our contract start date, and we would do so according to our tax invoice. We have the ability to add additional fees. Now, automatically, the system has assigned us a $400 establishment fee, but we do know that we need to add at least one additional fee. So again, I press my add button and a pop-up window appears. There's a number of predetermined fee types, and we know that we need to select the registration of interest on security for this particular quote, having a new car. If, for example, you have a fee that you would like to include in your quote that is not predetermined here, you can select other and you can then type in the description and then the dollar amount. But for this example, I am going to select the registration of interest fee and I'm going to type in $6.80. We have the ability to tick the fee finance box if we so wish, but for this example, we're going to leave it as is, and we're then going to press OK. You'll see that we now have 2 additional fees added to this quote, the establishment fee and the registration of interest on security fee. If, for example, we'd made an error in the dollar figure, for example, we can press that same line item, the pop-up window would reappear, we could edit that amount, and we could save. If, for example, we'd added a fee incorrectly, we could press that red cross and it would be removed and deleted from this quote. But we're happy with what we've got included in our quote and we're ready to save. So I'm scrolling up to the top and I'm going to press my save button. The pop-up window now appears for our save, and it's asking us whether we want to save the lead folder and the quote contained within the lead folder, and we're going to say save. Now, a fantastic feature of DriveOnline is our validate option. And what our validate option is it allows us to do a validation check to ensure that we've completed all of our mandatory fields, which will allow us to progress either our quote or our application. So I'm going to press validate now. By pressing validate, you'll see that an error message has appeared. So we have a validation error. The first validation error is represented here with a red triangle. All validations with a red triangle error are mandatory, so we won't actually be able to progress this quote or produce the quote for our client until we have completed and addressed this particular error. What's great about DriveOnline is that it actually tells you what exactly the error is and what information needs to be provided in order for you to progress. The second error message we have, this one here is a warning. So we would be able to progress our quote further as well as our application, but what we may be required to do is provide information as part of our credit or settlement decisioning. So we encourage you to read all of the warning messages you receive and address those within the system. I'm going to address our error message because we cannot progress without completing this, and we know that we now need to put a term, so we need a months in here. So I'm going to put 60 months and I'm going to press validate again, and you'll see that I've now passed my validation. Another feature we have of DriveOnline is our amortization schedule. So on the ribbon here, I'm going to press the Amort Schedule button and a pop-up window will appear. At this stage, there is no print button out on the amortization schedule, but what you can do is select, highlight the record and copy and paste that into another document outside of DriveOnline if you wanted to provide this to your customer. Please keep in mind that this is indicative pricing, and please make your client aware as such. So we're now ready to provide our quote to our client. How do we do that? Well, firstly, we press on our print button. It will run a validation and it will also save. A pop-up window then appears asking us whether we want to display our customer interest rate or not on our quote letter. It does default to no, and I'm going to select generate. The system is now generating our quote letter. We're going to select download. Now, if you are in your production environment, what we would ask you to do is to save this quote letter on your local drive so that you're then able to either email or print this out for your customer. As you can see, I've opened this quote letter, and on this quote, you can see it's one page. On the top right-hand corner are the address details that are linked to this user login. And on the left-hand side is the logo that's assigned to this organisation or this brokerage. Then all information regarding the quote has been populated out of DriveOnline. And from here, you can obviously print or email and provide to your client. Now it's time to create an application. There are two ways we can create an application in DriveOnline. The first is from scratch. And to do so, we'd select our app button and our new app option. If we were to create an application from scratch, we do have the ability to import a quote from a quote that we've previously generated in DriveOnline or a quote from an external system that we've used, for example, TFS. The other way to create an application is within our quote. So I'm going to return back to my leads folder and the quote that we were working within, and you'll see there's a button on the top ribbon, Create App. I'm going to press Create App now, and we'll commence the creation of our new application. One of the great benefits of DriveOnline is a feature that we have with our ABN and ACN lookup. The ABN and ACN lookup will allow us to populate information directly from ASIC. So for this example, Quick Blue Fox Company, I'm going to enter in their ACN details and I'm going to press the Retrieve Details button. All information that we're pulling from ASIC to DriveOnline will be pulled through by pressing the Populate button, and we'll see shortly what that information is. So I'm going to press Populate now. Now, before we start populating our application with data, I want to draw your attention to the tab. Now, up on the top, we can now see that we're in an application. How do we know we're in an application? Well, firstly, it starts with an A, and the record then contains today's date, followed by a full stop and then a unique system-generated number, which is our record number. In DriveOnline, this record number will be used throughout all documentation, and it does not change. There are a number of different ways that we can populate our data of our application. We can use our tabs across the top here. So our Details tab, which explains the type of deal that we would like to set up. Pressing Applicants, populating the data for the borrowers, guarantors, or other applicants associated with the deal, including their contact, employment, and financial details, if required. Our Facilities and Securities tab, where information about the facility and what is being financed including the fees and payments. Our Finalisation tab, which is information that we need to provide as brokers when applying for our deal, and supporting documentation. We'll talk about that further when we get to them. We are now on our Details tab, and there's various pieces of information that will be of use to you on this particular page. The first pieces of information are your transaction status and your application status. Both of these fields will update as your application progresses through the system. We're asked to confirm if this application is related to a program, and we're going to select No. We can see we have the mandatory field where we're asked to select the deal type in which we would like to apply. For today's example, I will select a standard application. Now, before I progress with our application, I do want to demonstrate what the rapid decisioning small ticket and motor vehicle ticket policy looks like. So I'm going to select Rapid Decisioning Small Ticket, and you'll see that on the bottom of our screen, a series of questions appear. Now I'm just going to scroll my screen down, and you'll see that I'm asked to answer a number of questions. And I'm going to put in just some examples of answers to these questions. And of course, in a production environment, we'd ask you to read these in complete detail. You can see on the bottom of my screen here, there's a decision box. And in this decision box, based on the questions that I have answered, I'm now told that I meet the policy criteria and I could apply for finance under this specific small ticket policy. If I was to answer questions slightly different, you'll see that I haven't met the criteria for this policy. It's okay to still apply for finance. We just need to change the application to a standard application. So I'm going to return back to my standard application and continue our process. There are two ways to navigate through our application. The first is by selecting the relevant tab that you would like to move to and the options under each of the drop-downs. The other way that you can navigate through an application is by using this green arrow button, and it's my preferred way. It will literally take you page by page through each of the application steps. So I'm going to press the green arrow now to be taken to our applicant. Now the first page we can see here is detailing both the borrower and the guarantor. Now you'll remember that we completed our ASIC search and we populated information or pulled in information directly from ASIC. Now, the information that we can see here is the example of information that is pulled from ASIC. I'm now going to press our green button to be taken to our details for our borrower. So now we're on our applicant. Now this is our company, and you can see here that this is the borrower and the company is the applicant type. You'll see that there's one mandatory question here, and it's asking us to confirm if Quick Blue Fox Company is an existing customer. If you've worked with Quick Blue Fox whilst using capital quote, this would be an existing customer. For this example, I am going to say yes. If you did select no for existing customer, there would be some additional information that is required for this customer, and I'll point those out when we get to them. You'll see on the bottom of our screen here, it's asking us to confirm who within this application is the guarantors, director, and beneficial owner. For the purpose of this training, I'll actually select you may as an applicant as the beneficial owner. One question that hasn't been populated is this company known by any other names? If this company has been known by any other name and this is documented within ASIC, that information will populate this field. In this example, we do need to say none. I'm now going to press the green arrow to be taken to the Contact tab, remembering this is the Contact tab for the organisation. It's not mandatory to populate contact details, so telephone numbers, but if you would like to, you can populate. What is mandatory is to select the industry and the nature of business. And for this example, I'm going to select squid jigging and calamari as the nature of business. Again, you'll see on the industry list that we have hundreds of industries that you can select from. It's mandatory to include address details, and we ask that you do confirm and check the records that you have for your applicants with the information that is being pulled from ASIC. I'm now going to press my green arrow to be taken to the applicant. And in this example, this is you may. Now, all information that's contained within ASIC has been pulled in, but we are required to enter in further information. Again, we're asked to confirm if you may is an existing customer. We're going to select yes. If we selected no, it would be mandatory to provide a driver's license details for you may. I will come back to the privacy consent. I'm going to select her title. And it's asking us to confirm if you may has ever been known by any other names, for example, a maiden name. For this example again, I'm going to select no. I need to confirm you may's gender. And now we're ready to progress to the next page, remembering that I will come back to the privacy consent. On the contact and employment information, it's mandatory to populate the current occupation, a minimum of 2 years of address details, and a contact telephone number and email address. I'm going to populate her UMA's residential information, and she's been living in Barara Heights for a number of years. Her current industry is in squid jigging, and she started in the industry again a number of years ago. I can populate the employment details, however, it's not mandatory. What is still mandatory is populating a telephone number and an email address. Now that I've provided my mobile number and email address, I'd like to demonstrate the privacy consent. Now I'm going to go back to the General tab. What's important to remember is that privacy consent is mandatory prior to a credit check being completed for all applicants that will be contained within application. So for example, borrowers, guarantors, trustees. So how our privacy consent works within DriveOnline is you have two options. You can select signed. The second option you have is electronic. Now I'm going to show you how we request our electronic privacy consent. I'm going to press the Request Privacy Consent button and a pop-up window appears. Now, because we've populated UMA's details with a mobile telephone number and an email address, we're able to send her electronic privacy consent. So I'm going to press the tick box next to UMA and I'm going to press Send Privacy Consent. What happens now is UMA will receive a text message on her mobile telephone number with a unique code. UMA will also receive an email at her email address. UMA will click on a link that's contained within that email address, which will open up with the capital privacy consent form. She'll be asked to read that form and then to enter the unique SMS code onto the bottom of that privacy consent. Once she presses accept, we will receive her electronic privacy consent. Once electronic privacy consent has been received, the status will update to received. Please keep in mind that it is mandatory that all applicants have completed their privacy and submitted their privacy consent prior to us submitting our application for credit decisioning. Now we're ready to progress our application. So I'm going to press our green arrow to move through to our Facilities and Securities tab. Now you can see that our quote that we have previously completed is included. If we had created an application from scratch, we would need to create and add the facility at this point. We have the ability to import quotes from other quoting systems, for example TFS, but for this example, we'll use the quote that we have already included. I'm going to press the green arrow to be taken to the page of our quote. As you can imagine, there may have been some time between your quote being provided to your customer, and you may need to make updates and changes to the information provided within your quote. For example, the contract start date, the fees. I'm going to press the green arrow, and I'm going to be taken to the first page of my asset. So as we're aware, I selected a new car, and it's now asking for further information about our new car. So I'm going to select the supplier type as a licensed dealer, and this licensed dealer is Jake's Cars. On the right-hand side, you'll see a button that says Search Asset. This is a link to the Glasses Guide, which you may already be familiar with. How the Glasses Guide works is I am required to put in a from and to year date, so I'm going to do that now, remembering that this is a new car, so I'm going to put in a filter. I need to select the make, so I'm going to search for a Toyota, and the model of a Corolla. Now I'm going to press the search button, and what will happen is all cars that meet the criteria of our search will appear, and we need to scroll down the list to find the car that meets our requirement. We highlight and we press populate. If I scroll down, there's additional information that we will need to produce and provide for our application. In order for our application to go through for credit decisioning, it's not a requirement to include the colour and the serial or VIN number, but it will be a requirement to process for settlement. But because I have that information already now, I will populate it. So we're going to put in a black car, and I'm going to enter in my VIN number. I'm going to press the green arrow to progress. I'm now taken to the summary of my payment screen. I select the green arrow again, and I'm taken to my finalization tab. So now I'm going to populate our executive summary, and we ask that you provide information that will allow our credit officers and our settlement officers to make the appropriate decision on your application. I'm now ready to press my green arrow, and I'm taken to our last tab, Supporting Documents. Now, how you add attachments to your application is by pressing the green Add button. A pop-up window will appear, and on this pop-up window, we will search for our file and we'll upload. Okay, so now we're ready to submit our application for credit decisioning. But before we do so, we would like to ensure that we've updated and provided all necessary information and completed all mandatory information on our application as well. So I'm going to press our Validate App button. It's run a validation, and you can see that we have passed our validation, so we're ready to submit. I'm going to press the Submit button now. You'll see it runs a validation again, and it also saves the application. A pop-up window appears asking us to confirm that we're happy with the attachments that have been provided with this application, and I'm going to press Submit. So our application has come back from credit with a message of referred. We're going to press Close. You'll see on our Details tab for this application that our transaction status now simply reads as referred and our application status as submitted. The bottom box on the screen, you can see it has the decision as referred and the description saying the credit assessment is in process. Once the credit decision has been made, for example, approved, it will detail the description of approved, and if there are conditions that the introducer will also need to meet within this application prior to settlement, those will be outlined under the approval conditions. One of the benefits of DriveOnline is even though we have only submitted our application to credit decisioning, we can still generate our documents. There are a number of things that we will need to do prior to generating those documents, and that is updating information based on our tax invoice, including our serial and VIN details for a car, and also the colour of the vehicle. Now, I am going to press the Generate Docs button now. You'll see that a validation runs. We've passed that validation, and a pop-up window has now appeared. On the pop-up window are a series of questions that we're asked to answer. We then press OK. And now we have our pop-up window. Now, one of the great features of DriveOnline is the system is smart enough to understand the deal type that we've applied for and the application. It's only giving us the documents that are relevant for this specific application. We can deselect document options. And we have two ways of generating our documents. We can generate them as a single PDF or generate the documents individually. And for this example, I am going to select Generate a Single PDF, and I'm going to press the Generate button now. Now our document is ready to be downloaded, so I'm going to press the Download button now. And again, we ask that you save this on your local drives, as DriveOnline isn't a document management system. You can open the document, you can print, and you can provide to your customer, asking them to obviously go through the process of signing each of the pages that require signature and confirming all information contained within the documents is correct. If you do need to make any changes to documentation, you make those changes within DriveOnline and regenerate those documents. Under the Supporting Documents tab, we would also here upload our settlement documents. So we'd press the Add button, we'd select Settlement Documents, and we'd attach those relevant signed documents. Now, there are three final features I would like to show you on DriveOnline. The first one is back on our EF Manager tab, you'll see that there's a button Privacy Consent. This is a generic privacy consent, so if your applicant prefers to sign a privacy consent, you can download a generic version of the privacy consent, asking them to obviously read that information and sign. The reporting options that we have available to you within DriveOnline are under our Generate Report button, and we have the ability to print and download our quote activity report or an application activity report. And both of those reports will pull out all records that are contained within DriveOnline, either as a broker or as broker support for your whole brokerage. The last feature I'd like to show you how we use is our clone function. What does cloning mean? Well, cloning is our ability to copy and create a new version of that particular quote or application. I'm going to return back to our application, and you'll see that there's a button called Clone. I'm going to press that now. And what it will ask us to do is to select the broker of this cloned application that I'm creating. And again, I'm going to select Broker 7. And you will see that a new application has opened. This application is the direct copy of the previously created application that we were using beforehand. It contains the same company information, the same asset details and quote details. And from here, what we can do is we can either change the asset type if this application is for the same company. If we had created a quote for another client that we actually wanted to use for this particular application, we could delete the quote that's contained within and add a new quote. Or if we'd cloned a quote, we could attach that cloned quote into our new or different application.
Thanks for watching our full system learning video. For more information on using DriveOnline, head back to the support website. We really appreciate your feedback, so if you'd like to drop us a note, please email us using DriveOnline at capital-finance.com.au.